listening to the Sacred Sanctuary podcast. I'm your host, Mekisha Banks, and this podcast is created to provide you with a safe space to explore, expand, and go deeper in discovering parts of ourselves that have been hidden away. I appreciate you being here, and I invite you to take the step towards developing your sacred practice and connecting to your true self. Welcome everyone to the Sacred Sanctuary. This is a different episode today. Today I have a guest with me. Her name is Jan Courtin, and I'm not going to lie to you, I love this lady. We've been friends for quite some time, and I'm just so excited to have her on the podcast today. So welcome, Jan.
Oh, thank you, Mekisha. I feel the same way about you.
Thank you. It's kind of crazy because I feel like our journey kind of started in a very business-like way and then it transmitted into something completely different.
Well, I think when I met you, I knew we would be friends.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
I very am like kind of skeptical sometimes when I'm making friends because I'm always just like, are they on the same vibes as me? Do they understand the same things that I do? Or do they, relate to the same things? And when I heard you say that you're a tarot reader, I'm like, yes, that's it. That's the one. So I am so
Interesting.
excited to, really get to know you. But please tell everyone about yourself and what you do, how you got into it. I want everyone to know everything about you and then some. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Well, when I was given my first tarot deck, I did not know what those cards were. I had never heard of tarot. I had no clue about tarot.
Mhm.
And they say that it's optimal to be given your tarot deck, your first tarot deck.
Yes.
So anyway, I took a dive in. I kind of fell in love with it right away. I was doing courses and I just started reading for people.
Hmm.
And even in my very first class, I think I was with about 10 women, all women,
Hmm.
and the instructor was a woman. And then I think for the very last class, she brought in a total stranger to us and she asked all of us to read the cards for this woman.
Oh, wow.
And then we all were to give a nugget of information. So when it came my turn, I was absolutely adamant that she was having a terrible fight with her sister and that she absolutely had to be the one to make up because her sister wasn't going to make up with her. And it was such a waste of energy.
Oh, wow.
So she almost fell off her chair that I got this from the tarot cards. So I thought, there must be something to this.
Yes.
So, so I started reading more and more. But, I was a superintendent of education for the second largest school board in Canada. So you can imagine I didn't have those cards on my desk.
But you wanted to.
And they were way off to the sidelines. But of course, I'm very
Hmm.
intuitive, so I always used my intuition in my work, but certainly not tarot cards.
Hmm.
And then I retired fully in 2020. And I thought, boy, here I am looking at the four walls, and I'm used to being super busy.
Yeah.
So what would I like to do? Because retirement should be about following your passion, in my opinion. So I decided to upgrade my skills by doing a course with a fellow called Richard Knight, who's a world-renowned tarot reader out of the UK.
Hmm.
Thoroughly loved the course and still am on there quite often, staying up to speed. And I also did a course with Ali Campbell, who is a life coach who works with the subconscious mind out of the UK. So both of these modalities absolutely tap the subconscious mind. I'm just kind of a catalyst, it
Hmm.
all flows through me. And I do find this coaching goes extremely well with the tarot, and I often get clients coming to me after they've had a few tarot readings and they realize that they're actually getting some good coaching when I do a tarot reading, and
Hmm.
they think maybe they want more. Yeah.
That's awesome. Like, it's funny how, the tarot kind of falls into your lap in some way, but it's not by accident. It almost seems destined because when I got first introduced to my tarot cards, it was through a student. And, when I was teaching and she just started talking about tarot cards, and I was like, not too, familiar with it. You see it on TV and they make it so taboo and so forth like that. It was until that student brought her deck of cards because I was like, just bring it. I just want to take a look at them and see them because, you're too scared to go into metaphysical store at that time. So when she brought them in, she's like, go ahead and just get familiar with them. She left me in the classroom and I just did my own kind of little mini reading with them. And it's like the cards just like I can feel it. Like it just felt so vibrant and connected to me. So after when
Yeah.
she came back into the room, she's like, how do you feel? I'm like, I'm going to get myself a set of cards and I want these exact same ones. And that's what I ended up doing. I went to the store later on that day and picked up the exact same deck. And it's my favorite deck of all time. And I'm just so happy that that kind of, found me at that time.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Yeah. And it,
I know they really do have a vibration, and different decks have different vibrations. I do want to mention in my heritage, however, I didn't say that, but my dad was part Indigenous Algonquin, and he used to communicate with birds on the windowsill, and he used to see spirits at night that were transitioning to the other side. So as a kid, I thought, okay, this must be normal, but of course, it's not totally normal.
I never knew that. Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
okay. Yeah, yeah. So then my daughter, when she was about 6 or so, my husband and I found that she was also seeing spirits as my father had. And I was delighted that I didn't get that gift. I really don't want to see spirits too much, but she has done and she continues to do so. It's just there.
Oh my.
But I thought, okay, so she's got that through the bloodline. And I realized that when I'm reading tarot and stuff starts to just flow through me, that's
Hmm.
what I got.
Yeah, yes. And it's kind of funny how you don't really know what it is until you just kind of let it flow and keep going. And then eventually you start to research a little bit more, look through it a little bit more deeper, and then you realize, like, oh, this is not something, not to say normal and what's not normal, because I don't believe there's a certain kind of normal, but it's like you realize that it's a little bit more of a gift because it's something that not everyone can do. So to me, when you realize that there is a bit of a gift, whether it's intuition or you can speak and see and feel these, beautiful things, I like to call them, you just kind of, it gets scary at some point and then eventually it becomes a norm. So was there ever a time that you felt like it was a bit scary for you?
I don't know, I just went with it, but it does, sometimes it does become really strong. I do remember reading for someone once where I was unable to stop the flow from my mouth. I was just like coming out with, I was really telling this person all kinds of stuff, and my top chakra was buzzing like crazy. So I thought, yeah, this is more than me. There's something else is happening here. And
Mm-hmm.
and she really, really needed to hear everything. So, I mean, that's just what happens. And I know that something is really significant when I get that buzz all around the top of my head,
Mm-hmm.
which does happen frequently. And I tell people, I'll say, forgive me if I'm talking really fast, but this is what is happening. You really meant to hear this.
Mm-hmm.
Please pay close attention. And yeah, so that happens to me. I've never felt afraid of it. It's always felt just right, just natural, just I'm supposed to be doing this.
Mm-hmm. And did there ever was a time when you felt that intuition come in when you were working and it assisted you when you were working at like as that school board, like when you were working teaching and so forth? Did you ever feel like sometimes those beautiful messages come in and it assisted you, or you got an intuition on things when it comes to students, or even while you were working for just your own personal profession?
I think that we can all sense auras. We can sense when a person is giving off like a really negative vibe. You know, we all have this.
Hmm.
It's just sometimes the rational mind wants to take over,
Yes.
and you always should listen to the other side too. You know, I honestly can't think of circumstances because I was always using it.
Mm.
And then when I dove into the tarot professionally and put up my shingle, so to speak, then I don't know, then I just really embraced it. I really did. And I just feel very lucky
Hmm.
to be able to do something that helps people that I really enjoy. And I continue to learn about the cards all the time. They never cease to amaze me in their magic and their power and their ability to address things with people that people don't actually even want to go there. And the
Yeah.
cards insist. And
Yeah.
then the client will say, I really needed that. I didn't want to go there, but I feel so clear now, you know?
Hmm. And
Yeah.
that's the thing I find, because I've started this journey with the sacred sanctuary, it wasn't something that I knew I was ever going to do. I was just like, I just want to express. Because, when you're artistic and you just want to express things, and there's never really a cookie cutter way of doing it. I thought I wanted to do it this way, and then I wanted to do it that way. And then I'm like, let's just do the podcast and let's just express what I feel. And since starting it, I feel like, one major um, download that I would get is helping people understand transformation and ascension, and just learning and embracing and going within to learn things about themselves. Because, some people, like you said, they don't want to go there. They're almost afraid of it. And I feel through ascension, through that transformation, consistently doing that, you just uncover layers and layers and layers of yourself, and some things you don't want to dive into because you think that you packed it away, and then there's some things that you're like, this is all I want to focus on, and it's really not true. So in your experience, have you worked with people where it's just consistently going a layer deeper, or it might shift a little bit, or how do you see that kind of unfolding for people?
Well, I've read for people where I have spirits in the room. We both feel the
Mm.
spirits in the room,
Mhm.
and it's absolutely incredible. The feeling is so elevated. It's like we are not here anymore.
Mhm.
We both feel uplifted, and we talk with, do you feel what I'm feeling?
Yeah.
And, and when we acknowledge it, then it gets even more intense.
Oh.
But you mentioned earlier, Mekisha, about when you were discovering tarot and it was almost a taboo. So I don't feel that that's the case anymore.
Yeah.
I feel that it's become so much more mainstream. More and more
Mhm.
people like to get a reading. More and more people are learning to read the tarot.
Yes.
They really love it.
Yeah.
It's all over the internet, right?
Yeah.
So that's really great because we are making the shifts
Mhm.
involved with ascension. We are opening ourselves up and we are receiving information and downloads all the time.
Mhm.
2025 is particularly a very, very intense year for this. And I don't know about you, but many people since this year opened up in January have been getting this feeling of fatigue and feeling really tired.
Mhm.
And they're sort of going, why don't I have more energy? I don't know why I feel so tired. Why am I lying down? Should be doing this, this, this.
Yes.
Well, it's because our bodies are receiving so much new energy.
Mhm.
It's hard, right?
Yes.
So we shouldn't beat ourselves up for feeling tired. We should lie down.
Oh my gosh. I'm so happy you said that. Exactly what I've been dealing with for like 3, 4 months. And it's like,
Good.
okay, so let's put it the stereotype. The stereotype is that when you're in your 30s, you're in your prime years. When you go to 40s, you're in depression in some ways because you're like, oh no, I'm aging. So I'm 39 going into 40 this year, and I'm like, maybe it's because I'm going to be 40. And I'm like, get over that. I never cared for
Yeah.
age numbers. Like most of my friends are much older and wiser, but then I meet the young, wise souls too. But I realize though that your body, regardless, you still see that your body changes from whatever, whether it's, I wouldn't call it decade, I would call it momentary, like momentary places where you feel like you are ascending to a next level or you're changing to another area of your life, for example. So
Yeah, it just when you shift into like a different dimension, it
yeah,
almost feels
that's
like.
perfectly said. Perfectly said.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's when I realized that, Mikisha, you're going into a period where it's not about driving yourself crazy and hardwiring yourself so much to do. Instead, it's more so allow. And I found myself fighting that urge to do things versus allowing myself to know when's the right time to do things, because when you do, things happen magically and you get more work done when you are allowing it and preparing for it versus forcing, driving, pushing. And I feel like that's what I've been noticing for the last 3 months. So when you're talking about this whole idea of allowing yourself to take a break, slow down, and rest, yeah, I've been doing that a lot more now versus my old self would have been like, let's push. Instead, it's like, no, chill out today, relax, allow it to
I'm
happen.
glad you're saying this because, there is a universal, excuse me, a universal card. Everybody has a soul card,
Mhm,
and you get an additional card very often with every year. But we also always have a universal card for the whole world. Now,
mhm.
last year, 2024,
Yes.
it was strength, building inner resilience,
Mm,
really being tested, but having to have that fortitude and
mhm.
resilience. Pretty well, looking around, I saw a lot of people undergoing experiences that actually required them to build inner fortitude.
Oh my gosh.
Now, this year, this is the Hermit.
Mm,
Number 9, the Hermit. When you look around and you listen to the news or anything at all to do with what's going on in the world, it's just so wild and fast moving and sometimes very depressing and saddening. And
mhm.
you're so confused, like, what next?
Yeah.
So, of course, we get the Hermit. This is the advice.
Mhm,
This is required of us. Go inside,
mhm,
go inward, go to the higher self. Just listen to your heart. Be quiet. Be still. Don't get sucked in, excuse me,
mhm.
into that craziness.
Yeah.
And it's all around us. So I just found it fascinating,
Mhm.
you know, to see the Hermit as this year started to unfold. What a totally perfect card for the world to get.
Yes. Well, thank you for saying that because now it also explains me. It's like a double whammy for me. And I know you did my reading. Was it last week? Wow, the time went by, or the week before. And
Yeah,
again, my my soul card is the Hermit.
yeah.
And
You've
then
got
the
it
world
double.
is the Hermit. And then, my card for this year that you pulled for me was the Emperor. And boy, whammy, is it a way of saying knowing the balance and the harmony of the both of them, when to go in and when to drive. And that's exactly what I'm, just talking about with you is just that balance of the two. And it's true. I notice a lot of people around me are trying to go a little bit inwards and they're not as, out and about and being on out in the craziness and so forth. They're kind of relaxing, and I think it's great because I feel like the more we reflect internally, the better it is for us. So I think it's
And it goes with that need
Mhm.
to get more rest because of everything that we're receiving.
Yes. And
All the
Could you
the
talk a little bit
information that
more
we're
about that
absorbing.
in terms of receiving? Because I think that's what some people need to know is that they're not all the time what they're feeling and thinking is necessarily their own thoughts, and emotions. A
Mm.
lot of times they're hearing and feeling other things, but they're not understanding that. So can you go a little deeper in that?
Well, it's just all part of the human revolution or evolution, rather, that we're going through now. We also have a few revolutions going on for that matter.
Hmm.
But we as a species are evolving to be much higher beings where it's going to be normal
Hmm.
to have these powers that right now only certain people have, to kind of be highly, highly intuitive and read auras and do all these things that are really,
Hmm.
really helpful. It's very intense. It's one of the most intense times we've ever had on the planet, and it's lined up astrologically as well. Now, I'm not an astrologer, but I do read about it,
Me
and
too.
all the planets are going to align pretty shortly this year, which
Yeah.
is very, very rare because the larger planets move really slowly, the smaller planets move really quickly, and they're kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
But for them to be aligned
Yeah.
is really huge. So it's just a very significant year. More things are going to change this year than we can even imagine. So I think it's a super exciting time,
Hmm.
and we have to really pull away from the negative. Just if you're not into something and you think it's really bad or it's getting you down, just shove it away and just think of the positive.
Hmm.
Our job is to elevate ourselves, and
Hmm.
that is through thought. Whatever you focus on grows. Everybody knows that.
Yes.
So just focus on the positive and be grateful and look at all the beauty in the world. We live in a miraculous world. I just have to look at a flower
Yeah.
and I'm just blown away by the beauty and the intricacy and the magic of how it even grew.
Yeah. I
These
think
are
a
the
lot
very
too.
small things that are miracles, right?
Yes, I think that's the thing when we're so trapped within our own worries, I feel that sometimes people don't realize the things that are magically happening around them. And there's days that I just sit there and I look at my cats and I'm just like, look at this beautiful little beast. Like
Mm,
you just sit there and you just look at them and you're like, you're just relaxing, cleaning yourself and
yeah.
just
They know
sleeping.
how to be chill.
Yes, and I think
Yeah.
that's why where sometimes we need to kind of take that moment to just like recollect ourselves and just understand that this moment that we're living right now, it is very monumental. The planets aligning, the age of Aquarius is starting. All of these new systems are going down and the new things that are coming up and the changes in the sun and the solar flares, like all of these things that are happening around right now. I think
I
we're just
almost
not
feel
taking it in.
I feel like we're living in the tower, the tower card? And so, for those who maybe don't know tarot so well, this is on the card itself is an image of a tower crashing down and getting big cracks in it, and it's all going to land on the ground, and it's going to have to be totally, totally rebuilt from
Yes.
scratch. And look at what is going on with the government in the United
Hmm.
States and Elon Musk and this whole Doge thing going on,
Yes.
ripping it down and starting over again. The tower.
Yes.
The tower also has the message, you've
Hmm.
been living in your ivory tower for too long. You don't really know what's going on.
Hmm.
You need to get your feet on the ground, and I'm going to make sure they get there because I'm pitching you right out of this tower.
It's so true.
And so this is what's happening is we are going to be exposed to so much truth.
Hmm.
All the corruption is going to be uncovered, all the evil, all the hideous things that we
Hmm.
could never believe. It's going to be in our face. So it's a real tower kind of movement going on, in my view.
Hmm. And I think that's a very important point when it comes to the tarot card because when I see that come up when I do a reading for myself for the day, or when I see it come up in my readings when you've given it to me, There's times where I'd be a bit afraid of it, but then eventually I just said, you know what, embrace it because it's time for things to
Yes.
change. And that's what
Yes.
happened last year. I feel like I went through a major tower moment, but what it's rebuilding for me going forward is a brand new beginning that I've been wanting. We say we want things to change, but we feel like it should change in the less pain as possible. But
Well, change isn't always neat and tidy, right?
exactly.
And this is a year of transformation, and we're also in the year of the wood snake,
Yeah.
and a snake sheds its skin.
Yes.
So we're shedding skin
Mhm.
big time.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like a new beginning, a new creation of life.
Yeah.
So just find that so interesting, that we're in the snake year and I really feel the tower going on and every time I turn around there's more stuff and then I just take a nap.
Yes. Exactly. You're just like, I'm gonna go and clock out now. It's time. It's time to just relax
Yeah.
yourself.
And we should never ever feel guilty about that.
Yeah, and it's true because I feel like we have been hardwired to not want to nap, slow down, take a breath, go for a walk, take a me
Yeah.
day. We've been programmed to not take care of ourselves, but the opposite. And
Especially
I
in
feel like
North
it's
America.
really important that people just take that moment in to do that for themselves.
Well, when you think about it, the most important thing is to love yourself. Everything flows when you really nurture and love yourself. It's
Hmm.
so, so critical.
Hmm.
And doing something like that is just part and parcel of looking after yourself, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, this was such a great chat. Before we wrap up, I wanted to ask, and more so just give people the ability to be able to contact you and understand what you do and how you do it. So, could you give them like a brief, not step by step, but a brief understanding of when they come to you to do a reading, a coaching, how you can help them from step by step? Because I feel like what really helps me with when I do my yearly reading with you literally touch base on every single point from the animal totem to my life card or the card for that year and just that overall spread. So I kind of want you to give them that understanding of how you do that on full unfolding so that they understand when they're going somewhere and they're getting a reading and they're just getting a quick 15-minute reading, there's a very, very distinctive difference than doing something full fledged with you and then how you continuously help them throughout that year or that time with them.
Thank you, Mekisha. Well, I am doing New Year readings right now, and that consists of 12 cards.
Hmm.
And where the card is sitting, every single little sector where the card is sitting is different. So it could be
Hmm.
health and well-being, it could be relationships, it could be your goals, it could be your direction for this year. There are all kinds of things that it could
Hmm.
be. So I read I tell the person the sense of the card, the energy of the card,
Hmm.
and then they converse with me about how that fits. If it isn't really clear, I'll pull another card until we get to what really resonates.
Hmm.
So that's one part of it. But before we even go there, and I do my work over Zoom primarily, but in advance, I will send them, once I have their birth date, a combination of Chinese and Western astrology, a full description of their personality based on the Chinese and Western signs.
Hmm.
And then I draw an animal medicine card that is their totem for the year. And that totem often has very profound messages for the
Yes,
person.
I agree.
So, yeah, it seems to happen all the time that the totem really speaks to people. And then the funny thing is, I mean, I give the soul card as well and the card for this year. And then as I go into the cards, the other things that we've already talked about are also echoed in the cards.
Yeah.
So it's almost like, you get the hammer
Yes.
on the
Yes.
person. Like, do you get it? Do you get it? I'm telling you in another way now
Yeah.
what you just heard. And then it just becomes unavoidable, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
just there. It's like the subconscious mind is laid out before them and speaks to them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's why I do different layers because I think it's really important to have clarity. That's my biggest goal in working with people
Mm-hmm.
is that they leave with a really strong sense of clarity where they're going and what they need to do next. Yeah.
I love that. Like, I remember when I had the year and there was a squirrel totem. Oh, was I really squirreling out? I sure was. Let me tell you, that year when I had the squirrel, I felt like a squirrel. I felt like a
Yeah.
squirrel to the next level. And I was like, no, I couldn't. And then when I looked at all the things that I was doing, I was like, Mekisha, you really are a squirrel right now. Like, you
Yeah.
followed me throughout the whole entire year. And then this year, when you pulled the crow, whew, that one hit me. It was so needed to hear the things that came up with it. So I
It
highly,
was very
highly.
spiritual for you.
It is. It is. I'm
Mm,
still kind of
yeah.
taking it in, but it's beautiful. It's really beautiful the way you just lay it out. And it just, like you said, the hammer just keeps coming in with the cards over and over again, just really giving a person deeper understanding of each portion and how it all ties in together. And I think it's just very beautiful the way you do it and how it speaks to you, through you, to us, because I haven't been in one reading where nothing you said did not place significance through my year of that life or continuously.
Wow, that's lovely. That's lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh. So, what is your last parting message to anyone that's listening regarding tarot and what you do?
Well, I think there's so much more to life than just that pedestrian back and forth. I'm in my routine. I just do things so that I'm almost on automatic pilot. And a lot of people, slip into that.
Yes.
But there is so much more. There's so much more to know. So if you're feeling like maybe it would feel like a bit of a risk to you, to sit down with someone you don't know and have them dive into your subconscious mind. But
Hmm.
your subconscious mind is so much wiser than your conscious mind, the one that's doing the back and forth every day. So the subconscious will tell you what you need to hear. There is absolutely no doubt. It happens every time
Yeah.
and it wants to speak to you. And it's always a joy because these things
Hmm.
are little miracles for me when people hear what they need to hear and they have these aha moments.
Yes.
It's fabulous.
Yes.
Yeah. So if you really want to be good to yourself, love yourself, evolve, take advantage of, you know, the different ways of living and being, dive into a tarot reading.
Hmm. Thank you. It's absolutely true words. True, true words. And Jan, I appreciate you coming on. I would love to have you again because I feel like we're just scratching the surface. Scratching the
Well, I
surface.
do appreciate it, Mekisha. It's always lovely talking to you.
Yeah.
And yeah, we did the first layer for sure.
Yes. Thank you so much for coming on, Jen. I love you and I can't wait to touch base with you when you come back to Canada.
Well, Spain has me now, I can tell you. I'm loving España, but I will be back and we'll speak some Spanish together, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so
Muy
much,
bien,
Jen.
muy
Have
bien.
a good
Muchas
one.
gracias.
Muchas gracias.
Okay, bye bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Sacred Sanctuary with Mekisha Banks. If you enjoyed this episode, give us a rating, leave us a comment, and share it with your friends. And of course, you're more than welcome to connect with me on TikTok or Instagram at Mekisha Banks. And until next time, wishing you a fun-filled week with sacred moments and soulful discoveries. See you next time.